Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Vegas 92, Barboza versus Murphy. First things first, make sure you smash the subscribe button, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's the Stats and Stacks podcast. And honestly, I apologize for Robles Despain. Like, I can't describe how a professional MMA fighter doesn't attend jujitsu classes. Pereira did it. Cesar Almeida did it, who we'll talk about at UC 302. Um, I I don't know. He just refuses to, and it cost him and it cost us some money. But it is what it is. You don't do women's MMA. You don't do low level heavyweight MMA. You just bet the dog in those circumstances. And we're gonna go against our rule again. We did it last week. It didn't pay off, and there are some locks this week where both locks are actually in women's fights. So it is what it is. The lines are just what they are, and you have to take advantage of what you can. Again, it wasn't a losing week last week, but I actually didn't win any. It literally stayed even, but I'll take that over a losing night. No units were lost, no units were gained. We just start fresh and act like last week didn't happen. God damn it, Despain. But yeah, new week here. Not a good card. Last week's card wasn't good. This one might be worse. But again, as long as you're making money, you can make it a good card. So let's go ahead, not waste any time. Only 12 fights on this fight card. A lot of fights have fallen off. A lot of fights rebooked. But it is what it is. It's free. It's on early, and we can get paid here. So let's jump into the very first fight of the night. And we're going to start off with a lock. We have Emily Ducote at minus 340 going up against Vanessa Demopoulos at plus 270. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 475. Under 2.5 at plus 325. Let's start with Emily Ducote. She's someone that we've been able to read like a book, man. We bet her heavy against Jessica Bidet in her debut. She came through clutch as a lock then, and we bet against her with Angela Hill and Lupi Godinez, and she fought tough, but she did get L's there. And then I'm pretty sure we locked her again against Ashley Yoder, and she went out there and got the damn job done. So she is a cash cow because she's kind of easy to read here. She's going to have a 4 inch reach advantage, which is nice. She never has a reach advantage. She's a shorter, stockier girl, but she's fighting one of the only girls with a shorter reach than her, which is just going to benefit her because she's a striker, man. She's a very, very good striker with a wrestling background. She's one of these few women who did wrestle in college. I mean, mind you, not there's only so many women's wrestling programs, but she was in one, so she is a fairly decent wrestler. She is a good striker. That's her bread and butter. Loves her low calf kicks. Loves to just stay real tight, everything down the middle, nothing looping. She is just very technical. Her jujitsu's okay, but she's rocking a 92% takedown defense. Again, she's a great wrestler, so her jujitsu doesn't have to be great. She's not going to the ground and getting her back taken at all. And I mean, it's not like she can't compete on the ground. She's been submitted before, don't get me wrong. But she's fought a good level of competition. I mean, McFarland's the one that submitted her, and McFarland was a champion. It was a title fight. So at the end of the day, she has some submission wins herself. Catherine Paparocki was on The Ultimate Fighter. She was almost in the UFC, and she submitted her. So her jiu-jitsu's fine. Her wrestling's great. Her striking's really good. She packs a punch. She has really good cardio, does not slow down at all. She throws a ton of volume. Now, she is a little hittable, but that's because she fought Angie Hill and Lupi Godinez, who just went crazy with volume. But all in all, she's just a sprawl and just brawler, man. She kind of reminds me of like a female Chuck Liddell. She doesn't actively wrestle, but she has good fight IQ. I've seen her she took down Ashley Yoder the last 10 seconds of the round where it was going to be safe. Ashley Yoder is a jiu-jitsu girl. She stood and bang, and then she took her down with 10 seconds left to solidify the round. Yeah, nothing bad about Emily Ducote. She's a smart fighter. She's a good fighter. She's someone that we do a good job reading, and she's someone that I trust with my money. On the other side, we have Vanessa Demopoulos. She's not that great. She's predominantly a grappler. The jujitsu's the best part of her game hands down. She's not a great striker. She's honestly a pretty bad wrestler. Her cardio's fine. She can go a full 15 minutes, no problem. But she's very hittable on the feet herself. The UFC likes this girl for obvious reasons. But she is also 35 years old. Dakota's 5 years younger in the prime of her career at 30. 35 isn't as bad in women's MMA, so she's fine. But yeah, she's basically a jiu-jitsu practitioner who's fighting MMA. I do like that her fight IQ. She knows what to do. She's just not great at it. And if she can't wrestle, I've seen her pull guard. She will do anything she can to get this fight down to the ground, but she does not march forward. She tends to back up. And the last two times we saw Dakota fight a fighter that usually backs up a little bit, she leg kicked the shit out of them until they couldn't walk anymore. So I do foresee Dakota doing exactly what she did to Panay, who is a jiu-jitsu practitioner only, exactly what she did to Yoder, who is a jiu-jitsu practitioner only. She's going to do the same thing to Vanessa Demopoulos and her stripper guard, who is a jiu-jitsu practitioner only. We've seen this fight 2 times already. Dakota won it 2 times already, and now we're seeing it for a third time. Why fix what isn't broken? The pick is going to be Dakota. The bet is going to be Emily Dakota. Next fight of the night is one that I've gone back and forth with. Honestly, one that I probably one of the fights I want to stay away from most on this card. We have Haley Alatang at plus 130 going up against Clutson Rodriguez at minus 155. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 220. Under 2.5 at plus 170. The main reason I'm scared of this fight is because of Clutson Rodriguez. I'm a believer in Clutson Rodriguez. I actually think he's very good. He trains over with the Noguera brothers, are his coaches. So by default, he has very good jujitsu. He has really good striking and hits decently hard. He has okay wrestling. It's not good. It's not bad. It's serviceable. But he's 28 years old, so he's at that age where he's just going to get better and better every time we see him out there. He had 63% takedown defense, but a lot of that came when he was tired against CJ Vergara. And people harp on that fight. People will not forget that fight. First and foremost, I thought he won that fight. It was in CJ's hometown, and CJ got the hometown rub in a split decision. I think that was a little home cooking. I truly believe that he won that CJ Vergara fight, but I had money on CJ, so I'm okay with it. But as someone that won money on that fight, I'm telling you that was fixed, and it was just a hometown guy getting the rub. Should it have been that close? No. Clemson definitely did gas out. But that's not common of Clemson. And if I'm not mistaken, was that at elevation? It very well might have been an elevation. So people will not forgive him for that. They say that he's a gasser. I went back and watched some of his other fights. I watched his contender series fight that went a whole 15, and he was fine. Like it's not the cardio. It's also that he missed weight. And then he missed weight his next fight against Shannon Ross at 125. And the UFC said, no more. We like you, kid, but you're not going to keep missing weight and winning these fights. So what we're going to do is we're going to make you go 135. They were mad at him and they punished him by giving him a Bachelorette, bro. Yeah, Bachelorette beat that ass, got him down to the ground, and then ultimately submitted him with the arm triangle. Now, don't get me wrong, Bachelorette's 10-0 and an absolute stud. So there's no shame in going up a weight class and losing to Bachelorette. But again, the UFC is keeping him at 135. I think he looks fine at 135. I think 135 is going to be better for him. I think it's going to be better for his cardio. And he starts really fast. He has a lot of early finishes. So that's another reason he's gassed out in the past. He thought he was going to get a finish. He didn't. He blew his load, and that was all he had. I think the kid's a really, really, really good fighter. I think the UFC is forcing him to go to his proper weight class. Like all of this is good. I just have to see it because again, they punished him with an undefeated fighter because he kept missing weight. On the other side, we have Haley Alatang, who's someone that I don't hate. I think he's okay. I do think he's UFC caliber, but I don't think he's like great. I, I don't know, man. He's 32 years old and has a sneaky good wrestling game. Like he's a very good wrestler. Like that's the best part of his game. Supposedly he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I was not aware of that because you don't see him subbing many people in the UFC. You also don't see him winning a ton in the UFC. I mean, Casey Kenny beat his ass. Ryan Benoit, that was a really close fight, and Benoit is truly a 125 pounder. Let's see. Chris Gutierrez beat the hell out of him. He doesn't have good wins. He knocked out Kevin Kroom in 40 seconds, and Kevin Kroom was an absolute terrible UFC fighter with 0 wins in the UFC. Chad Enhelinger is okay, but he's a little overrated. He's not that good and has really bad takedown defense. So Haley Alatang was able to take advantage there because, again, this kid is good. He has good wrestling and apparently good jiu-jitsu. It's just his striking, although it's very good and he hits decently hard, he's very low volume and it makes him extremely hittable. Like this dude's striking numbers, he blocks punches with his face. He does not believe in striking defense, and that is not a good visual. Um, I don't know. He also starts very slow. He's awfully durable. I don't think he's ever been finished. Now that I'm looking, but yeah, he has. Or wait, yeah, he's been armbarred. He's been knocked out once. Okay, so he has been submitted and knocked out once. But he's very, I mean, he's had a lot of pro fights. He's been finished twice in how many pro fights? 17. Oh my God, yeah. Okay, so he's had 20. Where is it? Where does that say? Sorry, mine screen's being a little slow. So 16, 9, and 2. So he has 25, 27 pro fights. He's been finished twice. I mean, he's fine. He's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, he's predominantly a wrestler. Clutson, 63% takedown defense. So that part scares me. But on the feet, it's not even close. Clutson's faster. Clutson starts faster. Clutson probably hits just as hard. So it's Clutson on the feet all day. It's Alatang on in regards to wrestling all day, and the jujitsu's a wash. They're both very good on the ground. So what are you favoring here? I don't know. Right now, it's damage. Damage is what the judges are looking at. So I'm leaning Clutson, but he's at minus 155. I think Haley is a very live dog. But I don't think he wins the fight. My gut is telling me Clutson is gonna look better at 135. We've only seen it once against a really, really tough matchup. So I think Clutson shows who he really is. And the last part is if he loses, he's probably getting cut. In all honesty, he's lost two straight, or he lost, was it two straight? He's lost and his job is on the line here regardless. He keeps missing weight. He's never made weight at 125, and then he has one fight at 135 where he missed weight. So yeah, he's definitely cut if he loses. So his job's on the line. He's the better striker. The judges are it's there's no crowd. The judges are judging damage, and I think that's gonna come from the Clutson side. So the pick is gonna be Clutson. The bet is gonna be Rodriguez. I don't feel great about either side. Next fight of the night's another one where I don't feel good about, honestly. We have Piera Rodriguez at minus 200 going up against Ariana Carnolosi at plus 165. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 280. Under 2.5 at plus 195. Let's start with Piera Rodriguez because this is someone that I want to perpetually fade. I don't think she's good at all. I don't think she's UFC caliber. She's 9-1 coming off her first ever career loss with Jillian Robertson. Got submitted. She said she didn't tap. She would have had her arm snapped off, so she better thank God that the ref stepped in and stopped that fight. She's gonna have a 2-inch reach advantage here, which is nice. Her striking's okay. She hits decently hard, but she's not an overall great striker. Her jujitsu's okay. She says that's the best part of her game. It's all right. It's nothing to be scared of. You can go down to the ground with her. Nothing's intimidating. And her wrestling's okay. I've seen her take down a few girls from time to time, like Sam Hughes, but like she took down people that aren't, or Jillian Robertson as well, but they're not great wrestlers. They don't have great defensive wrestling. So what is that really to judge off of? All in all, she's a generalist who hits decently hard, but hasn't fought a good level of competition. And the one girl she did fight that was decent subbed her in round two. So I don't know, man. I don't believe in this girl. She came off Contender Series looking very sketchy. Her cardio is not the greatest. She does slow down in like every single fight. Sam Hughes dominated her round three. Jillian Robertson got the win in round two. Like she does slow down in her fights. She's a generalist with bad cardio. It's not something I want to back. However, Ariana Carnolosi. I love this girl. I think she's fun to watch. I think she's sneaky good and no one cares. But she has one massive problem with her game, and that's her takedown defense. Now, she hits pretty hard for women's strawweight. She has a ton of finishes. So does Piera, honestly. But both these women hit a lot harder than other 115-pound girls. She's 31 years old in the prime of her life. We haven't seen her in 2 years. That part is concerning. We haven't seen her since the loss to Lupi Godinez, where Lupi beat the absolute dog shit out of her. But she has really good striking. It was a very competitive. I think Angela Hill is one of the best strikers in the division, and it was pretty tit for tat, pretty close. For someone who is absolutely jacked, probably the most jacked girl in the division, she has really good cardio. She can go a hard 15, no problem, not breathing heavy. Her jujitsu's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's serviceable. She throws a ton of pressure at you. She does not take a step backwards, which will be interesting because Pierre is much better when she's going forward. I don't think she's going to be able to back up Carnelossi. Carnelossi is a fucking tank. She has one glaring hole: her takedown defense. Last thing I do want to say as a positive is she has a good schedule of competition. Angela Hill, Lupi Godinez, say for better or worse, Nali Yang. Estela Nunez isn't terrible. She's fought Gloria DePaula, who is in the UFC on the regional scene. She fought Souza, Ketlin Souza, who's now in the UFC while she was on the regional scene. She beat Bruno Brazil in the regional scene. She fought Amanda Hebos in the regional scene. Like, her regional scene might have been tougher than her fights in the UFC so far. Like, this girl is good, and she's not just fighting them; she's getting wins over them. She's a really good fighter, but her takedown defense, Jesus Christ, it's bad. Like, granted, she fought Lupi Godinez. I get it. Nali Yang, great wrestler. I get it. But her takedown defense, I thought I was reading it wrong when I saw it. This is by far the worst takedown defense I've ever seen in my life. In my life, it is at a staggering 8% takedown defense. 8. It's single digits. If you shoot a takedown on this girl, there's a 92% chance you're getting it. Now, she's not out there getting subbed at all. Angela Hill, it was a doctor stoppage. Lupi's decent on the ground, couldn't sub her. I don't know what happened with the Amanda Hebus fight. It doesn't show it, but she's a black belt. But at the end of the day, she has good jujitsu. Nali Yang's pretty good on the ground. She took her down like 4 times, wasn't able to get the submission. Like, she's decent on the ground. She's great striking. But 8%? Like, you just cough or sneeze in this girl's direction and she's falling down to the ground. I don't get it. She's very short and stocky. That's usually a hard type to take down. But any which way you want it. You want a single, you got it. You want a double, you got it. You want a Greco-Roman throw, you want a head and arm, do you want a body lock, whatever form of takedown you want. Lateral drop this girl, like, do whatever you want. She's going down. She can't stop it. Now, USADA's gone. Look at this girl. She's Brazilian. Brazilians are known to have the secret juice. Did she take 2 years off because she was hurt? I have no idea. Did she take 2 years off just to work on her takedown defense? I have no idea. Did she take 2 years off because USADA's now gone and now she can get on the juice? I have no idea. But as long as she wasn't hurt, those other 3 options, I think she's live, man. And these odds, plus 180. Again, Pierre Rodriguez, I don't even know if I said it. Minus 200. Ariana Carnelossi, plus 180. Over under at 2.5. Over 2.5, minus 280. Under 2.5, plus 195. I think the under's live. I think Carnelossi's live. I don't trust Pierre Rodriguez. She should win this fight. Pierre does wrestle from time to time, and you can out wrestle Carnelossi. And Pierre does gas out, but she usually gasses out round 3. I could very well see Pierre. She's probably going to win rounds 1 and 2 with wrestling, gas out round 3, and just survive and win the fight. That's probably what's going to happen. But Carnelossi could get her out of there, man. She's knocked out better competition in the past. She's just straight up beat better competition in the past. And we have not seen her in 2 years and have no idea what the fuck she's been doing. So if she's doing positive stuff at 31 coming back, I'm all aboard. I think you got to hop on before we realize what's going on. So the pick is going to be Carnelossi. The bet's going to be Carnelossi. I don't feel great about it, but I'm intrigued by the mystery of Ariana Carnelossi. Next fight of the night. It's my have the mighty have fallen. We have Abus Magomedov at minus 285 going up against Warley Alves at plus 230. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus 105. Under 1.5 minus 135. I mean, 2 fights ago, Abus Magomedov was in a main event against future champion Sean Strickland. Now he's fighting Warley Alves on the 3rd fight of the night, or 4th fight of the night. So, yeah, I think he's been fraud checked. Don't get me wrong, he's not a terrible fighter. He has good striking. He hits decently hard. He'll have a 6 inch reach advantage in this matchup. He's extremely massive. His jujitsu is not good. It's not bad. It's serviceable. His wrestling, he has really good takedown defense. I mean, it's 100% in the UFC. He's only seen so many attempts in the UFC. Kyle tried to take him down a few times. Um, Sean Strickland did not try to take him down. And Dustin Stolfus, he knocked out in 20 seconds. So honestly, it was just Kyle who tried to take him down and was unsuccessful. And Kyle's an okay wrestler, but I've seen him on over in PFL. I've seen him in KSW. His takedown defense is pretty solid. He is Dagestani, but he moved to Germany. But again, his Dagestani roots, it's natural. He's going to be good wrestling. He doesn't use it offensively much. He prefers to strike, which is usually good because he does hit hard. The problem with him is that he's a little chinny, man. I mean, Sean Strickland knocked him out. We have Louis Taylor knocked him out in 30 seconds. We've seen him get submitted before. Like this dude, you can finish this guy. He's been finished what 4 times out of his 6 losses. So you can go out there and finish him, and a lot of that is because of cardio. His cardio is terrible. It's very, very, very bad. He has 2 rounds of cardio and then he falls off a cliff, and he's just surviving at that point. And he just hasn't been able to survive against Kyle. He wasn't able to survive against Sean Strickland. It hits about that 4 minute mark in the second round, and he is gasping for air. The thing is, he gets so many wins so early. Round two finish, round one finish. Um, round one, round one, round one. Like he's such a killer. Round one, round two, round one, round two. He's such a killer. He goes out there and he just dominates you early. So it's really matchmaking for him. If you give him someone that's not durable, he'll go out there and he'll get the job done early, and his cardio doesn't come into effect. And that's kind of what he has here in Warley Alves. That's the issue I'm having. Warley Alves is a former welterweight, decided I'm getting older. I can't cut down anymore, so I'm going up to middleweight. He effectively fought 1 time at middleweight against Ikram Aliskerov, who people are high on, and I think he's going to get fraud checked very soon. But they had him go against Ikram, and he got knocked out in 2 minutes. Warley is a very he's not a good striker. He's okay, but he hits very, very hard. Again, most of his career is at 170, but he does have a ton of power. Jiu-jitsu is his best part of his game. He's a very, very, very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. His wrestling's not bad at all, but he's fought a great level of competition. I mean, he's fought Ikarim. He's fought Nicholas Dolby, Jeremiah Wells, Randy Brown, James Krause. He fought Colby Covington. He fought Brian Barberina back in the day. Kamaru Usman. Like, he's fought the who's who. I mean, he fucking submitted Colby Covington, for fuck's sake. Like, he submitted Colby and Brian Colby in 2015. So you would think this kid's good, which he is. The problem with him is the same issue as a Boost. He's a little chinny. He's pretty hittable on the feet, to be honest with you. And his cardio is terrible. Like he has 2 rounds of cardio and then he falls off an absolute cliff halfway through the second round. So you have 2 chinny guys going at it with 2 bad chins. I, I don't like this at all. But what I can say is 2 things. One, a Boost is going to be much larger. He's going to have a 6 inch reach advantage, and he's probably going to knock out Warley Alves early in like 1 round. Again, he got chin checked in 2 minutes his last fight. However, the last time I saw Warley fight these long, lanky guys with huge reach advantages over him, he does wrestle a lot more in those matchups. Use Jiu-Jitsu is only okay. Warley can very well go out there and submit a Boost Magomedov. Very well could. Can he get him down? I don't know. That's the question. If he takes down a Boost, gasses him out, and then submits him, those odds are going to be absolutely insane. I'm really tempted. I'm hovering over a Warley Alves by sub. However, a Boost, again, 100% takedown defense, Dagestani roots. We've only seen one guy try to take him down, and that was Kaio in the UFC. So I don't know. A Boost should go out there and win. A Boost is going to be the official pick. But if you get crazy odds for Warley Alves, I am going to consider that sub prop because he will take him down. Like that's, or sorry, that will be his game plan is to take him down. I don't think he's going to want to go out there and strike with the Boost. He knows. He is as chinny and bad cardio as he is. He does have good fight IQ and he does the right things at the right times. He just may not be able to physically do it. So again, I'll pick a boost. The bet's probably just going to be the under. And honestly, the under 1.5 is minus 135. I'm just going to take the steam. I'm going to take the alt line, take under 2.5 and call it a day. That's basically a lock. So again, pick as a boost. The bet is the alt line under 2.5. Next fight of the night, we have our other female lock. We have Melissa Gatto at minus 340 going up against Amiris Vidal at plus 270. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 150. Under 2.5 plus 120. Let's start with our lock in Melissa Gatto. Now, let's do the opposite and start with the negatives of Melissa Gatto. She's taking this fight on short notice. She was not the original opponent. Um, that's the negative. Because otherwise, she should absolutely kill Vidal. Gatto is only 28 years old, so she's in her prime. She's fought a very good level of competition. She fought Carol Hossa. She fought Ariana Lipsky, Tracy Cortez, Sarge Eubanks. I mean, even Victoria Leonardo's not a complete pushover. And she did what she was supposed to do with her. She literally broke her arm and knocked her out. Again, but the best part of her game is her jujitsu. She has really, really, really good jujitsu, very active guard down there. Now, she will play guard a little too much for my liking. That's probably the worst part of her game. She's so confident in her guard that she'll let the time tick by. But when she's on the feet, she's no slouch. The girl can strike. She's improved. I used to try to fade her because I didn't think her striking was that good. It's gotten much better, man. Every time she's out there, it gets better and better. She's getting better training. She's getting older, getting more reps in. And she's hitting hard, man. She's jacked. She has veins popping out of everywhere, man. She's a good striker. She's a great jujitsu practitioner. And her wrestling's catching up, man. I've seen her. Usually she should just go out there and only do body locks or pull guard. I saw her shoot a takedown against Tracy Cortez, like a straight double leg folk style takedown. Got the double leg. It looked clean. She did the right thing. She drove through her. Like she did everything right. This girl's wrestling is getting better. Her striking is now proficient, and her jujitsu is just as dangerous ever. Her cardio holds up for the entire 15 minutes. I like everything about this girl, but it is short notice. So just be cognizant of that. On the other side, we have Tamaris Verdell, who's the complete opposite. I think she's trash. She's only 25 years old, so she could be improving just like Melissa Gatto did at that age. She could very well be getting better right now. And she does carry a bit of power, so that part does scare me. She has a ton of knockouts on her record. But she's a girl that's a very good hammer, very bad nail. We saw the Eileen Perez fight where she got the shit kicked out of her, and then she just played to the ref saying she can't continue as an illegal blow. She doesn't know where she is, faints to the ground, even though she was perfectly fine right before. Very suspect acting. She has 40% takedown defense, and that's saying something because the girls she's fought in the UFC are Ramona Pasquale, Montserrat Rendon. That's it. Those aren't good wrestlers. Neither one of them can wrestle to save their life. So the fact that she has 40% takedown defense, Gatto should be able to take her down with ease. I will give Vidal that she has good volume. Her striking's okay. She looks like she can slow down in some of her fights. Her cardio looked better in the Rendon fight. But yeah, man, 40% takedown defense again. Randone took you down 3 times. Pasquale took you down. Like, that's not good. Her jiu-jitsu's okay. It's gotten better. It has gotten better. I'll give her credit, but it's nowhere near the level of Gatto. She's not going to sub her. She's not the better striker. She can't wrestle to save her life. How does she win this fight? Her power. I mean, her win against Pascal was a flying knee. She hits hard. She throws some wild shit. Like that's how she's going to have to catch her. She prefers the counter, which is not great because she's slow. And I'm not saying like she slows down in her fights, like she's physically slow. You see her punches coming a mile away. Going back and doing fight tape on her versus Rendon was painful because both of those might be the slowest women I've ever seen in my life. Like I think the heavyweights throw faster punches than they do. So you can't counter people if you're just physically slow. It doesn't work that way. And when she gets taken down, miss bad takedown defense, plays guard. You don't want to play guard with Melissa Gatto. She's going to sub you. So I don't know. At the end of the day, the only I see a lucky knockout punch, and that is it. She has a puncher's chance. Otherwise, Gatto should eat her lunch. I don't like the lines. I like the lines when they originally opened. Now that Gatto's at minus 340, and I think the line is still growing at this point. It's getting a little out of control. Gatto at minus 400 is a bit much. But I understand why. She should absolutely kill her. The pick is Melissa Gatto. The bet is Melissa Gatto. Next fight of the night, we have another extremely short notice replacement. We have Omar Sy at minus 285 going up against Tuco Tokas at plus 225. That's the line I saw. Now, that's the same line that it was against him and Tricoli. So I don't know if they just left that line or if they put his picture there and never changed the line. I don't know. That line's going to move and is going to move in favor of Omar Sy. The kids, I think that's the truth. There's certain prospects you see where you're like, even on the regional scene, you can tell they're real. Like Hazmat Chamiev is the prime example. You saw his fight tape before his first fight in UFC and said, "Oh my god, this guy is real. He's the complete package." I don't think highly of French MMA, to be honest with you. I usually try to fade all of them. I've tried to fade Benoit Saint Denis. I tried to fade Manon Firo. I am not fading Umar Sy. I think he's the real deal. He can strike. He has good striking. He's 28 years old. He's in the prime of his life. I'm only going to get better. He grapples a ton, and he's a pretty good wrestler. He's very physically fit and just a powerful dude. So if he doesn't want to knock you out, he definitely has the power to take you down. His jujitsu seems perfectly fine. Like he seems like a pretty good jujitsu practitioner. I think on paper he's only like a blue or purple belt, but so was Hamza when he came into UFC. Yeah, he's good on the ground no matter what his belt says. And again, striking, he hits like an absolute truck. And wrestling, he has great technique. He's very twitchy, very fast and powerful at the same time. Loves to move forward. And his cardio, I'm not sold on. However, he does have two decision wins, and that looks good. It's not one of these guys that is just so physically superior to everyone. He finishes you in 1 minute and then dies out. He kind of reminds me of Jailton Almeida with cardio. Like, I don't know how good of cardio, but good enough. It's Jailton Almeida without Jailton's chin and cardio. Jailton is chinny and has bad cardio, but this guy seems to have it all. He's 9-0, 8-inch reach advantage in this matchup. He's had the full training camp. Everything is in this kid's favor. On the other side, I did a really quick film study on Tokos. He trains out of Killcliff FC, which is nice. That's about all I got. His jujitsu's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's serviceable. He's very chinny. He's taking this fight on under a week's notice, flying across the country, cutting weight. He prefers to counter, and that's terrible because Sai is a freakish athlete. He's faster than Tokos. He's stronger than Tokos. So trying to catch Sai with a counter when he already blasted you with a double or blasted you with the right cross, like that's not going to work out. So could he try to wrestle him? He could. His wrestling's okay. Jiu-jitsu on paper, he has the better jiu-jitsu, but that's if he's on top. I don't see him taking down Sai. I don't see him knocking down Sai. His striking's okay, but he does back up a ton, and Sai loves to move forward, so that's not going to look good optically. He's basically a generalist. That's chinny. I mean, he got knocked out by that Zhang guy that's in that was on road to UFC. That's not a good look. Yeah, he sucks. Toko's, I don't think is UFC caliber. I think he's just a step underneath, and I think he's about to get exposed, and he's in for a rude awakening with this Sai, who I think the UFC wants to back. So the pick is going to be Sai. The bet is going to be Sai. And honestly, this is his third opponent. Originally, they were giving Sai. God, who were they giving him? Here, I can pull it up here. They were giving Sai Rodolfo Bellato. So that is much different than Tokos. Bellato's someone they kind of believe in. So they were really going to test this kid right out the gate. So now he has an easy matchup. Pick his side, bet his side. Those odds are awesome. Get them while they last. Next fight of the night, we had Tom Nolan minus 500 going up against Victor Martinez at plus 380. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is plus money at plus 135. Under 1.5 at minus 175. Let's start with Tom Nolan because I was all over the upset with him and Nicholas Mata. Tom Nolan's young, man. I'm not trusting these young kids. He was 23 at the time. They come in here and choke all the fucking time. It's not just that it's contender series coming in. It's these kids. They're too young. The Cameron Simons, the Tom Nolan. They need a little seasoning before they come in. And if they do come in early, give them other young kids or give them a very winnable fight. If you give them a test, they're in trouble. And they gave Tom Nolan, who's a little green and leaves his chin out there, one of the hardest hitters in the division. And what happens? He goes out there and gets absolutely rocked in under a minute. Like he got blasted in 1 minute. But he has a 3 inch reach advantage here. He's 24 now. We'll give him a little. But he has good striking. He hits decently hard. He has pretty good power. His wrestling's sneaky good. It's not great, but he will push you up against the cage and go for takedowns. And he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black or brown belt. So he is good on the ground and will have he's just good on the ground. His cardio is good, it checks out. But again, he's a little chinny and his fight IQ is a little questionable. Part of it's probably just because of experience. He's only 6-1. But I've seen him wrestle against like grapplers and I've seen him strike with strikers. So I don't know if he has that like John Jones complex where he wants to beat you where you're good at. But he needs to not do that here because he has a very clear path to victory. He's fighting Victor Martinez, who is pretty pillow fisted, so we don't have to worry too much about his chin. And the best part about him fighting Victor Martinez is the fact that Victor Martinez is chinny himself. Everyone's going to point to it, and I am not going to be any different. He got knocked out by Jordan Levitt. That is probably one of the most humiliating things to ever happen in the octagon. And not only did he get knocked out by Jordan Levitt, he beat Jacob Rosales on the Contender Series, who broke his hand in round 1. And he went life and death with a guy with one arm in the Contender Series. So we've seen this guy twice in the UFC under the UFC banner. He got knocked out by a gay grappler, and then I shouldn't say that. He got knocked out by Jordan Levitt, who had 0 knockouts prior to outside of a slam against Matt Weinman, and then he went life and death and barely beat a one-handed fighter. Like that's not a good look here. What is Victor good at? Volume. He throws a ton of volume out there, but he doesn't hit particularly hard. He goes to a ton of decisions. His jiu-jitsu's okay, but he's been submitted before. He's lost to pretty questionable competition. Luke Flores was in the UFC who couldn't get any wins. Eric Gonzalez was in the UFC who couldn't get any wins. These are the guys he's Jordan Levitt. These are the guys he's losing to. The guys he's beating, I've never heard of, have questionable records, and yeah, not the greatest look here. So he's fought bad level competition, 80% takedown defense, I guess. But again, the guy had one hand, so what do you expect? Yeah, I don't know, man. You can't be chinny and hittable at the same time. That is not a good. That's not good. He's not a good wrestler. He doesn't initiate the wrestling, so he wants to strike, and he's fine on the ground, but you have to take it down there. But he wants to strike with a bad chin, and that's just bad. Both these guys have bad chins. That's why the under is where it is. But here's what I truly believe: generally, when you're young and you get knocked out for the first time, it freaks you out, and you start grappling heavy. I've seen Tom Nolan grapple heavy before. So I don't hate the over 1.5, to be honest with you. I think Tom Nolan might come in with a grapple heavy game plan, but their chins are so bad, I don't want to trust that. I'm going to pick Tom Nolan minus 500. Absolutely not. But I might go ahead and check it out and take an alt line here as well and take the under 2.5. So the pick is going to be Tom Nolan. The bet's going to be the under 2.5. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. Next fight of the night, we have another one that I'm very, very concerned about. We have Angela Overkill Hill at minus 340 or minus 135 going up against Juana Pinheiro at plus 115. Over under at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 445. Under 2.5 at plus 310. Let's start with Angela Hill. Angela's my girl. I think Angela's really, really good. She is the best 500 fighter I've ever seen in my life. Her and Michael Johnson. She is female Michael Johnson, legitimately. She's only fought the best of the best, and that's why her record is the way she is. She's also old, just like Michael Johnson. She's 39 years old. I don't like that at all, but she's not showing it. She has some of the best striking in the division. Very, very good striker. takedown defense when she came into the UFC was ass. Like it was sitting at like a 40% takedown defense. She's drilled it. She's worked extremely hard, and over the last few years, she has been so hard to take down. And that 40% takedown defense now reads a 75% takedown in the UFC. So she's done a phenomenal job in regards to her wrestling. I've even seen her take a few girls down. Something she usually doesn't have is a reach advantage. 2.5 is reach advantage in this matchup. And again, she's fought the best of the best. And her cardio, she weaponizes cardio. Really, really, really good cardio. Really, really, really high volume. And her jujitsu is okay. It's gotten much better as well. We've seen girls that like Mackenzie Dern not be able to sub her, and Mackenzie Dern is the best grappler in the division. Denise Gomes is good on the ground. Verna Jandaroba went to decision with her. Verna's the second best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the division. So yeah, she's fought the best. Manta Lemos is a good grappler. So she's fought the best grapplers and not got submitted. So her jiu-jitsu is good. Her striking's phenomenal. Her cardio is world class. There's She's fought the best level competition. There's a lot of things to like about Angela Hill besides the fact that she's not chinny, but we've seen some crack in the armor. Before she was cast iron, you could pull a Max Holloway and hit her with a frying pan, and she's not getting rocked. Now she's been rocked a few times. Amanda Lemos clipped her badly. Loopy clipped her pretty bad. Denise Gomes hit her with some shots. Mackenzie Dern dropped her. Like she's been dropped a few times now, but she still hasn't fully gone out. Again, 39 father times undefeated. It's starting to show, but she hasn't gone out yet. On the other side, we have Luana Pinheiro, who I'm actually shockingly high on. I went in and I bet this fight right away when I saw the odds. I still believe Angela Hill wins this fight, but after doing fight tape, it's a lot closer than I thought. She's 30 years old in her prime. She dates Mateus Nicolau, which I don't like. I hate Nicolau. But she has good striking herself. Ton of power. When you look at her record, look at all these round one finishes. And a lot of them are by sub, man. She has really, really good ground game. She throws that head and arm, which I absolutely hate. Head and arm is the worst takedown in MMA. It's real easy to get your back taken, but I don't foresee Angela Hill submitting her if she gives up her back. She is the better jiu-jitsu practitioner. Luana definitely has the power edge. It's probably Angela's the better striker, but Luana throws high volume too and hits harder. The optics are going to be in Luana's favor. So Luana's probably the better wrestler. She's the better jiu-jitsu practitioner, and they both throw a lot, but Luana hits harder. So I want to say live dog. Problem is her cardio. Her cardio is bad. It's not good. And she perpetually gets hurt in round three. Her last fight, she got knocked out in round three. Michelle Watterson Gomez, she got absolutely starched in round three. And she won that split decision. And I do not think she truly won that. Sam Hughes beat the hell out of her in round three. Like we've seen this over and over. And she's chinny. I've seen her rocked a few times. We saw Rhonda Marcos knock her out with an illegal kick, and they ended the fight because she couldn't continue. Again, she got knocked out in her last fight in round three, so she's chinny and has bad cardio. That is not a good combo, especially going against someone who's a better striker than you and who has shown better takedown as of late. Can Luana get those head and arms early on? Absolutely. Do I think she subs Angela? No. Do I think Angela wins the round based on volume? Probably, but they're gonna be close because it's not like Luana doesn't throw. She throws a ton. She's very good at countering. She's very crisp. She could very well go out there and knock out Angela Hill. I'm not gonna lie to you. It could be the first one. She could also go out there and gas out and get knocked out by Angela Hill. That's also a possibility. Like, I don't know what to think of this fight. I know I'm leaning Hill. I have a bet on Hill. I think it could be greasy. This might be a split decision. It sounds crazy, but I think it goes one of three ways. I think Luana knocks out Angela Hill for the first time. I think Angela Hill knocks out Luana and gets a knockout in God knows how long, or it goes to a split decision. I think those are the only three options. At the end of the day, I think the split and having one of the knockouts, I think I'm going to take Angela. The bet's going to be Angela. But I am going to take a peek at those lines. I know Angela Hill by KO is like plus 800. I'll probably have to sprinkle it. And whatever Angela is by split, I'm going to take a look. I might sprinkle that too. So the pick is Angela, and I might get a little crazy with some sprinkles in addition to. Next fight of the night is a setup fight, and I know I said that last week with Despain, but this is this week's version of it. We have Adrian Yanez at minus 360 going up against Vinicius Salvador at plus 285. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 at minus 145, under 1.5 at plus 115. Let's start with Yanez. Yanez is someone that the UFC absolutely loves. They made up that top 5 boxer list in the UFC. It threw him in there. They love Yanez. He has the character, he has the fight style, he's got everything they want. 30 years old in his prime. Great striking, great cardio, good level of competition. Throws a ton of volume. Is rocking 100% takedown defense. His jiu-jitsu's okay, but he loves to go forward and he loves to counter. He's a very, very good counter striker. Now his chin concerns me. He got knocked out by Rob Font, which I mean, shit happens. He got knocked out by Jonathan Martinez, but it was by leg kicks. It's not like he got chin checked. But I have seen him chin check before. He's been dropped. Randy Costa dropped him. Again, Rob put him out. He might have a little bit of a chin issue, so you do have to be careful there. But at the end of the day, the UFC feels bad for him. He is the one that took over his fight camp when his coach died, and now he's the one in charge of everything. And the crazy thing is, he has not won a fight since his coach died and has not been in his corner. So the Rob Font fight, that's a tough fight to have without your coach. And then Jonathan Martinez. Both of those are tough fights, though. They're not Vinicius Salvador. So is it him not having his coach, or was it just too much too soon? He's taken a break. Now he's refocusing on himself, and the UFC gave him Vinicius. Vinicius is a former 125 pounder who's moving up after missing weight, just like Hudson Rodriguez, going from 125 to 135. So he's no longer going to be able to be such a huge size bully. He has good striking, I'll give him that, and he hits decently hard. His jujitsu's okay, and he has 86% takedown defense, but he's not going to be wrestling in this matchup. Yanez is not a wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. Salvador also throws a ton of volume, but Salvador gets tired, and Salvador slows down, and Salvador is a little chinny. He's been knocked out in the past. He's been submitted in the past. So yeah, he's been knocked out twice. And now he's moving up a weight class, so that's sketchy. His UFC tenure, he beat Shannon Ross, who is the chinniest guy we've ever seen in the UFC. He beat Victor Altamirano, or sorry, he lost to Victor Altamirano, and then he lost to CJ Vergara. And those were predominantly striking matchups. So that's well, Victor Altamirano went out there and wrestled him. That was interesting. But CJ Vergara beat him in a striking matchup. And CJ is nowhere near the striker of Adrian Yanez. Now CJ is more durable. Again, Yanez might be a little chinny, but so is Salvador. And for all the volume and pretty decent power, Yanez throws more volume with more heat. And also Salvador is a cocky little shit. He's so annoying. He has his hands down low. He's one of these guys that dances and talks to you while he's fighting. The judges hate that shit, and it's not gonna help him. The last thing on him is that he does get countered a ton with his hands being so low. So he'll throw a quick little combination, and then as he's sitting there, they call it taking pictures. As he's admiring his work, he hits you with a 1-2, and then just stares at you and like celebrates, and then gets countered, and you punch him right back. He has zero defense. He lets you counter him, and again, Yanez is very good at counters. So Yanez is probably going to put him out. It's a complete setup fight. A guy that UFC loves against a guy that UFC hates. He's minus 360. It's a heavy price, but he should get the job done. Pick as Yanez, bet as Yanez. Next fight of the night now has some controversy. We have Ramiz Brahimaj at plus 115 going up against Themba Garimbo at minus 135. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 135. Under 1.5 plus 105. I was all over Ramiz Brahimaj. He was my favorite dog of the week. He has not fought in 2 years. I didn't know why. I heard on the interview that he did have some injuries, so I don't like that. I was hoping he just took the time off because he was young. He's now 31 years old. But he's in good spirits. He's really excited to go out there and get this fight in. World class jiu-jitsu. Like the guy is very, very, very good on the ground. One of the best guys on the ground in this weight class. And he needs that because his wrestling's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's all right. His striking is not. He really tries, and he's very durable. I mean, he's been finished once, and that was from his ear literally falling off his head. But he didn't quit. He was fighting with his ear literally hanging like on his shoulder. His ear exploded and was hanging on his shoulder, and he was still fighting and still pressing forward and still throwing bombs. He's just not very technical. He's kind of slow. He's very hittable and kind of low volume on the feet. So I hope in these 2 years off, he has been hitting the pads because that's what he needs. If he can develop a striking game, this kid's a problem. Like this kid's jujitsu is that good, and he has a desire to want to strike. He's out there and he's swinging. He's just not great at it. So hopefully that's developed, and hopefully his wrestling got a little better. It wasn't the worst, but he's not like a Colby Covington out there taking you down. He's not a Kamaru Usman. He can't do it at will, but he can try, and he'll continue to try to take you. And then once he gets you down to the ground, the guy's good. Like he needs to do nothing with his ground game. He's phenomenal on the ground, and that's why I was so high on him because Dumba Garembo has a body of a striker, but he trains at MMA Masters and he prefers to grapple. And he's grappling a ton and not working out well, man. I mean, he got subbed by AJ Fletcher. That's a terrible look. His jiu-jitsu is not terrible. I will give him that he has a really good back take. If he takes your back, he slaps on that body triangle, and you usually go nowhere. But he is a lot of submission over position, and he's pretty sloppy. He falls over your back all the time. He slides off to the side. Like Takashi Sato should not be getting out of your body triangle. Like that's not a good look. He fell in love with this overhand right. He literally just closes his eyes and wings it. He knocked out Pete Gonzalez with it. He dropped Kashi Sato bad with it. His striking's not good. He is not a good striker, but he has a mean overhand right. That's what he's got. Otherwise, he wants to wrestle, and he's not even a great wrestler. He's an all right wrestler, but I think him and Brahimaj, it's pretty much a wash. It's a tie. Jiu-jitsu, not even close. Brahimaj is a much better grappler. And then again, the striking, I think it's a wash as well. Neither one can strike. I will say Themba has more power, but Brahimaj pressures and it looks a little better. So at the end of the day, I was all over in with two grapplers going at it. I was all over the better grappler. And then Demba's coach died this week, and that's not good. People that like have their coaches and such die. Generally, I know we just talked about Yanez and not winning, but when they die like that week, I just think of God, what was his name? Damon Jackson had his brother die. Cody Stamen had his brother die. Like when you have these, Mana Martinez had his coach die that week. Like when they die that week, they're extra motivated and they keep getting wins. It's a thing. It's a terrible thing. I'm not trying to make a joke of it. I'm just pointing out the last few that I could think of, and it's like an undefeated streak going with that. So again, prayers and thoughts to the family. I hope that everyone in that camp is okay. I do not want any ill will towards anyone. And again, it is not a joke, but it is a tendency that happens. They're extra motivated. They go out there and they win. So the dog I like the most is in a little bit of trouble. But at the end of the day, I gotta trust the technique. I'm gonna stick with Ramiz Brahimaj just because Themba is probably gonna go out there for the kill, and he's a bad gas tank. And if he does that and gasses out, I mean, what are you going to do? So the pick is Brahimaj, and the bet is still going to be Brahimaj. But now I'm a little concerned. All right, next fight of the night is the other dog I'm probably going to take. It has Chaos Williams at minus 130 going up against Carlson Harris at plus 110. Over under set at 2.5. Let's start with let's start with Carlson Harris. He is the one of the best fighters that no one's heard of. He's so good, man. He has unorthodox striking. I really don't know. I can't call it good or bad. It's very unorthodox. He's fought a decent level of competition. I don't like that he's 36 years old. He's leaving his prime. He's pretty much just left his prime. I don't like that. His striking's very unconventional. He like chops down. Like he doesn't throw a jab. He doesn't throw a hook. He throws like this chop. I don't even kind of like a Trevor Peak standing hammer fist ordeal. He originated it, and he's good with it. He keeps knocking people out with it, and he lands it a lot. Yeah, man, and he has a ton of power. Impa Kasaganai, he knocked out with it. He dropped Jared Gooden with it. He's knocked out a lot of people with that same overhand like chop. It's very strange. Now he's been chin checked a few times. He's been knocked out in round one twice because you can goad him into a brawl. He's a good striker. He carries a ton of power, but his best suit is his wrestling and jiu-jitsu. And when I say jiu-jitsu, mainly his front chokes. I mean, he has an arm triangle. He has a Darce choke here. We saw him Darce choke in his um, UAE Warriors fight before the UFC. Then his first fight in the UFC was an anaconda choke. Then his last one in the UFC was an anaconda choke against a black belt in Jeremiah Wells. Yeah, man, he goes out there and he has these long, lanky ass arms, and he slaps a choke on and has a crazy squeeze and puts you out. Like his jujitsu and mainly his chokes are very, very good. His wrestling is persistent. He kind of reminds me of Corey Anderson with his wrestling. Very good, very consistent, does not stop shooting doubles. Only just like Corey Anderson, you could goad him into a brawl. Can he knock you out? Absolutely, just like Corey Anderson. Can he get knocked out? Absolutely, just like Corey Anderson. Shavkat knocked him out. And again, in the over in Brave, got knocked out. Now Chaos, that's exactly what he's gonna do. His name's fucking Chaos. Like that's what he causes. That's what he wants to do is go out there and just cause chaos in the fight. He has good striking. His jujitsu sneaky good. It's not bad. It's okay. The problem with Chaos is his takedown defense. Now it's showing 80% in the UFC, but I went back. I've watched every single one of his UFC fights. Miguel Bieza tried to take him down a few times, but he's not a great wrestler. Matthew Semmelsberger can't wrestle to save his life. Randy Brown can't wrestle to save his life. Rolando Bedoya, I actually thought he lost that fight, but didn't shoot one takedown. It was Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira is the one that took him down, and he took him down twice. And here's the scariest part: Michel Pereira is a sneaky good wrestler, but Chaos didn't sprawl. Like, you can't sit here and just say he's a great wrestler, 80% takedown defense. No. When Miguel Bieza tried to take him down, it was off of a body lock and then up against the cage. Michelle just shot a double leg straight out in the middle of the octagon. And I swear to God, Chaos did not sprawl. I've never seen a man not sprawl before. So I don't know about his takedown defense. And we're sure as hell probably going to find out with Carlson Harris because Carlson Harris shoots a lot of double legs. He doesn't stop. Again, Chaos hits decently hard. He has a lot of decisions or like 10-second knockouts. If you have the chin for it, you can go a 15 with him. If you don't, he catches you early because he swings crazy and he swings decently hard and he's going to put you out in 10 seconds. So it's a matter of your chin. Carlston doesn't have a good chin. Chaos could go out there and knock him out round one easy, and I think that's why he's the favorite. But if this motherfucker doesn't sprawl, Carlson Harris is going to take him down, and Carlson Harris might slap on a choke himself. So if you're telling me striker versus grappler, I will always go the grappler unless I have a damn good reason. Chaos could get knocked out with that overhand chop too. Carlson has two ways to win. He has three ways to win. He could sub him, he could take him down and just control him, or he can knock him out. Chaos can knock him out, and that's the only way he wins the fight. Literally the only way. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it likely? Probably. But if the other guy has three ways to win and is plus money next to his name, that's the way I'm going. So the pick is gonna be Chaos because I do think he knocks him out. But the bet, I'm going to have money on Carlson Harris. He has more ways to win, and he's plus money. And that takes us to the main event. If you haven't already, make sure you give this video a like, hit subscribe, give a follow over on TikTok, Instagram, over at wherever their social media, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. There is the Stacked and Stacks podcast. Edson Barboza, plus 125. Lerone Murphy, minus 150. Over under set at 3.5. Over 3.5, minus 160. Under 3.5 at plus 125. Let's start with Edson Barboza because I've been riding with him. He's 39 years old. The dude is old as shit. Sorry, he's 38 years old. He has a 1.5 reach advantage, which I like. Great striking, a ton of crazy power. His cardio, even for 38, not bad. It checks out. He's someone that used to fight at 155, decided at age 36 that he wants to try 145. Looks like absolute death on the scale, just like Jose Aldo does, but then balloons up and fights fine on fight night. 75% takedown defense. He's not easy to take down. He's fought a really good level of competition, former champions, former title challengers, and Justin Gaethje, Habib Nurmagomedov. Like he's fought the who's who. Everything to like about Edson Barboza. Besides the fact that he's 38 and being 38, he's getting a little chinny. I've been rocking with him over down at 145. I bet him against against Sadiq Youssef, but Sadiq did crack him badly in round one. Fight was almost stopped, and then he went out there and cracked chinny Sadiq, and then went on to win the fight. Awesome, I was with him. Billy Q, Billy Q's a great fighter, but he doesn't wrestle too well. There, he's going to be forced to strike with Edson. Edson's chinny, but he still has a clear striking advantage. Went out there and KO'd him in 2 minutes. Great. I was with I was with Edson. The Giga fight, I knew to stay. I knew to stay away. Bryce Mitchell, I stayed away because of the wrestling. But here's my concern: got rocked against Sadiq. He knocked out Billy Easy. He got rocked badly against Bryce Mitchell. Got knocked out by Giga Chikadze. He got rocked by Dan Ige. Paul Felder, he won. He got knocked out in 2 minutes against Justin Gaethje. He got knocked out against Kevin Lee. He went out there. He got choked out by Tony Ferguson. He's been choked out by Donald Cerrone. I got knocked out by Jamie Varner. That we're back in 2012. Common theme here: most of his losses, knockout, and he's 38 years old now. And that chin, even in some of these fights where he's not getting knocked out, he's getting dropped, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. He got dropped by Shane Burgos too. So in his last 5 fights, he's been dropped in 4 of them. I don't like that. His chin's starting to go. It's father time. It's nothing against him. He's a great fighter. His chin scares the hell out of me. On the other side, we have Lerone Murphy, who is the goods. 13-0-1, has never lost a fight in the prime of his life. One of the best fighters from Britain. 32 years old. Okay power. He's not a power puncher. He goes to a lot of decisions, but he can crack and he can knock you out if he catches you right. And again, Edson's getting a little chinny here. Murphy has good cardio, sneaky good jujitsu. His wrestling offensively is getting better. His defensive wrestling is where he sucks. 46% takedown defense. Cannot stuff a takedown to save his life, but he's fighting Edson Barboza. He's fighting a striker. Now you're going to hear it at nauseum, and you're going to absolutely hate Lerone Murphy because of the broadcast team. They're going to tell you over and over and over again. He got shot in the face at like a nightclub or something. He got shot in the face and like spit out the bullet or something crazy like that and survived, and now is an MMA fighter. They're going to harp on that, and they're going to talk about him getting shot over and over and over. It's annoying. The point they're trying to drive across is that he's durable. And he's never been knocked out. He got cracked in his last fight. He did drop down to a knee, but he popped back up. He was fine. He also shows very good fight IQ. He's wrestled against people when it was a very close striking ordeal. He's sprawled and brawled with people that are predominantly grapplers. He has really good fight IQ. His level of competition, I wish, was better. But it's not terrible. I mean, Zabir Tuhugov is a decent fighter. Ricardo Ramos, decent fighter. Douglas Silva de Andrade, decent fighter. McQuan, decent fighter in round one. Gabriel Santos, decent fighter. Josh Kulabau, all of these guys are fringe top 15 guys. He's had 0 easy fights, but he's had 0 top 15 guys. And this is his step up. This is his first main event. What is he going to do? I don't know. I truly don't know what to think of this fight. And although he's never been knocked out, Edson Barboza can knock out anyone in the 145-pound weight class. At the same breath, Lerone Murphy, although he doesn't have crazy power, he does have some knockout wins, and Edson is very chinny as of right now. So right now, I don't want to trust either party. Gun to my head, I'm going to trust the youth, the 32-year-old who's in his prime, to prove it to us. I'll go ahead and I'll take Lerone Murphy. He's kind of similar to Sadiq Youssef, only probably a little better striker, more durable for sure, and hits a little harder. I don't want to say he hits harder. He basically is Sadiq Youssef. He really is. But with a better chin. So I'll go. We've seen this fight kind of. Edson won it. That's because he kept dropping Sadiq, who has 0 chin whatsoever. At the end of the day, I want to stay away from this fight too. This is another one I don't feel confident in. Gun to my head, I'm taking Lerone Murphy. The bet I might take the under 3.5 at plus money. Not a terrible bet because either one can knock the other one out. So the pick is their own Murphy. The bet's going to be the under 3.5. I might even take it. Forget the plus money. I might just take fight not to go the distance. You're going to get a good line. It's going to be like minus 120. That's probably the route I'm going. So pick is their own Murphy. Bet is fight not to go the distance. And that's UFC Vegas 92. Not the greatest card, but like we say every week, it doesn't have to be a good card. Any card is a good card if you're winning money. Let's do it.